Hello everyone and welcome to this episode of Bad Roommates. First up today we have roommate refuses to pay rent, won't leave, and after freaking out when I found meth in the bathroom and packing up her stuff and yelling at her to move out, I just found out that I'm the only one who broke the law. By Untethered Soul. I honestly just need to vent. It's been a hell of a couple of weeks. I've been renting from the same landlord for several years, but in March of this year, a friend of mine left an abusive relationship and started staying with me until she could find a place. According to my lease, after someone stays here for a certain amount of time, they have to be considered an occupant. She also has 2 kids, so we set up a second bedroom for them. After living rent-free for a couple of months, we agreed that she would start paying half the rent in May. So, technically, she is considered an occupant on my lease. But I wanted her to pay the landlord directly, and everyone agreed to this situation. We also agreed that she would pay the power bill and I would pay the gas and internet bill, which often equal out to the same. But all of them are still in my name. I just trusted that this would work out. Things seemed to be going okay, with the exception of your normal roommate bickering, but in July, her attitude started to change, and she was constantly staying overnight somewhere, while I was left home with the kids, and she had random guys over here, and her whole attitude started to change. I honestly didn't think anything of it, but it did start to wear on me, because it was as if she could not realize that she's a mom to 2 kids and I'm just a roommate. And I felt as though I was more of a mom than she was at this point. I let a lot of stuff go, and then at the end of September I got a past due notice from the power company that had resulted in a threat for a shut-off. I called them and they said that they hadn't received a payment in 4 months and they're only just telling you. Eesh. Generous, I guess. So, I was on the hook to pay that, so I didn't have power shut off. It was over $300, and when I confronted her about it, she literally said she's been paying it and accused me of lying. Well, it should be easy to show the bank statements then, shouldn't it? Then things started to kind of click into place, so I called the landlord and I said, "Hey, has my roommate been paying her portion of the rent?" I had been paying it on the 1st of each month and I assumed she was doing the same. But it turned out that she wasn't. In fact, any time she did pay some portion of rent, it wasn't the total amount, and it was often a couple of weeks past due, and we incurred several late fees. Then the landlord said she hadn't paid rent in August and September, and hadn't made her payment for October yet. Then he sent evidence, so when I confronted her I felt like I had a pretty strong argument. But again, same reaction, that I'm overreacting, that she'll get it paid, it's not that big of a deal. Well, certainly not to her, obviously. But she knows that I'm the person with the lease, hence why it's not a big deal to her. And as an occupant, she doesn't legally even have to pay rent, and has refused to work with me on this. So I'm on the hook for $1,390, and had to pay for 4 months of the power bill. Then I had to pay October rent in full, and we need to pay all of the utilities. If I don't, I'm going to get evicted. And it's weird because it's not really about the money. It's actually because she doesn't seem to care. We had a big blow-up fight, and then she left to go hang out with her friends. She didn't come home for several days and wouldn't respond to any of my text messages. And although I'm not proud of my behavior at the time, it seemed like a really good idea. I freaked out, went into her room, packed up all her stuff, and while I was packing up her stuff I found meth, pipes, and paraphernalia. Then it all clicked, and I got even more upset and texted her and said I wanted her to get out right away, and sent a picture of the drugs that I had found, and told her I was packing up her stuff and she needed to come pick them up, and that I was kicking her out. I don't know if I've ever been that upset, and I was feeling a whirlwind of emotions, which led to a string of behaviors and reactions that were beyond anything I thought I was capable of. I was livid. I never wanted to see her again, so I threw her stuff on the lawn, changed the locks, and about 2 hours later learned that I had literally just broke the law. Apparently those two actions are considered to be self-harm eviction. It's illegal. Never heard that term before. Turns out that since she's not on the lease, the landlord can't kick her out. And I can't technically kick her out until I personally serve a notice to vacate. And then she has 30 days to get her stuff out, and then I have to give her a key. In the meantime, even if this all goes as planned, that little temper tantrum could cost me a lot more than I could ever imagine. She's threatening to sue me for damages for packing her things and putting them at risk for damage or theft because they were outside for 2 hours. Oh honey, they're going to be outside for a lot longer than that, so are you. So, as I sit here contemplating my situation and how my life has been completely turned upside down because someone refuses to take accountability for their actions, I can't help but find satisfaction in the idea. So, as I sit here contemplating my situation, and how my life has been completely turned upside down because someone refuses to take accountability for their actions, I can't help but find satisfaction in the idea that I could end it all right now if I just reported that I found meth. Yes, do that, no! In her bedroom to the police so she goes to jail. Then call up her kid's dad and tell him so she loses custody. Yes, do all of that. That should have been your first call. Her getting all arrogant with you like, oh, I'm going to sue you for going into the room that she's not paying for. Yes! Report her. Call the cops. Meth-addicted hoe bag. Next story today is my roommate doesn't realize how taxing they are on my energy. By polka soup, people do insist on peopling, don't they? I hate it when they do that. To start, this has been an ongoing issue for the years I've known this person. We've lived together 3 years, and the only issue I had with them was that they were a little messy and fought with their now ex-boyfriend on the phone. Pretty typical, but we are good friends, so I looked past it. Now, about 7 or 8 months ago, we decided we wanted to move off campus. My 22 male and my partner, 23 male, agreed to share a bedroom but split rent evenly 4 ways to make it easier to divide up costs. My roommates, Joe, 22, and April, 21, agreed to all the terms of moving out, i.e. rent costs, bills, transportation, etc. It's on each individual to figure it out on their own. Where our problems begin with April start before we even moved into the house. On the day of move-out, we have until around 5 p.m. to get out of the dorms or we will be fined. Me and my partner had been moving all our stuff into the house for 2 weeks, because we knew this and also planned to stay long-term in the city. So we have a lot of furniture and things we have been saving for the move. After wrapping up around 1 p.m., transporting the last of our things, we went to help April move all their things out of the dorm. That was very nice of you. Things to note about me and my partner. We are the only two with cars. He has a large van and I have a smaller, average-sized car. So, we agreed to help both of them move out whatever they need. When we arrived at April's dorm, to our shock, all of the boxes I personally delivered to the dorm for them were completely empty. Everything they owned was strewn about in a big pile in the middle of the room. April was in their bed crying about the situation while I had to call reinforcements from my parents and my partner's parents, and our other roommate Joe. It took multiple trips with 4 vehicles, my car, partner's van, both parents' trucks, to get everything to the house, a 15-minute drive there and back. Packing and moving took almost until 7 or 8 p.m., extremely late on move-out because of their negligence. It was a very stressful situation, and they never once have taken accountability for it, pretend it never happened, and did not thank anyone or compensate for gas at all. While frustrated, I'm glad it was over with and decided I could look past it for now. I like the for now part. That pleases a part of my soul that likes to hold on to things and wait for the right moment. The next set of problems arise. I worked a job in town and April was looking for work. I put in a good word for them and recommended they try to work at my place of work. Ooh, you brave soul, you. It paid well, and I warned it was a very draining and tiring job. They got hired. We lined our shifts up in carpool to work every day. I never asked them for gas money or anything of the sort because it wasn't a drive out of my way. I was going to have to go there anyways, and I was fine with that. I began to really resent my work months later and kept letting April know the likelihood I would be quitting soon. And by extension, it would be their responsibility to either find new transportation or a new job. They laughed it off every time and would say things like, I owed them. Owed them for what? I eventually pulled them aside for a very serious conversation that I got hired somewhere else and would be putting my 2 weeks' notice in. They had 2 weeks to figure things out, because I was not driving an hour every day to deliver them to their job. I have chronic fatigue issues. Even if they paid for gas, it would affect my own work in school and my job to have to do all this driving around. I made this abundantly clear. Even the time came for my final shift. I reiterated once more, this is the last time I drive them. The next time they had a shift, they were at the door waiting for me to take them to work, and I refused. It really bewilders me how some people function, how they got that far in life. On the backs of other people, I suppose. They flipped out and had a major meltdown. Aw, diddums. Stormed out of the house late for their job. They walked home that night, which is a 1.5-hour walk at night in a city. Not exactly safe. Not your responsibility. I mean, if she can't drive a car or doesn't have a car, get a bicycle. It would at least be a bit quicker. I worried about their well-being and recommended they take the spare bike we have or carpool with a coworker. They flipped out on me for being concerned. Don't waste your energy on bitches. In the next few days, all 4 of us roommates had a mitigation to find a solution to the problem. That she moves out, and you never speak to her again. Fingers crossed that's the solution. They promised to stop asking me to figure it out at work, and I agreed to stop worrying so greatly about them if they chose to walk. I thought that was the end of it, but only a week later did they again ask me for a ride. Reasoning this time was I was up at 6 a.m. for my new job and was out until around noon, came home and crashed, and didn't wake up until a little after 2 p.m. My partner, April, and I all have a 2 p.m. class together, which I drive us all to. Since I was asleep, I was going to miss the class, and it was up to them to either walk or skip. They both opted to skip. April uses the bus line at that class building to transport to work every day. When they asked after I woke up, I told them no because I was exhausted, and we had just recently had a conversation as to why I cannot. They were pissy about the answer, and I walked out. They had about 2.5 hours to find a solution, but instead waited there until half an hour to their shift to flip out and tell me their financial crisis of why they can't afford transportation to work today. I mean, 2.5 hours, plenty of time to get there on foot. I put my foot down and told them they had hours to either walk or find a bus or take a bike to work, but they waited to put this on me. They again stormed out of the house angry with me. Take all that stormy energy of theirs and just put it into working the pedals of a bike. It would be great. Go so fast. Since this happened, they found a carpool with their supervisor as they live nearby. Let's take a moment of silence for the poor supervisor. Poor person. And have been using that to get home. To get to work, they now either walk or Uber. No more fights, which I'm very content with. Now, the current biggest issue we've been facing. Last week our landlord messaged us that one tenant, don't get ahead of me, had not paid their portion of rent for the past 3 months. I send a full itemized bill to my roommates at the end of every month, including a reminder to send the rent to the landlord. I handle all of our utilities and bills. They send me the cash and I pay the bills. As for rent, we each individually send it to our landlord directly. My mind immediately went to April, but I didn't want to jump to conclusions. Oh, you could have saved so much time, and assumed it must be an error on the landlord's end. I asked everyone for a receipt that they had paid rent, and got one from my partner and Joe. April did not understand. Oh, she understood, and said they had no receipts. Why? Because they had been sending me everything. For reference, bills are about $200, and then split between all of us. Rent is a little more than $600 per person. This is a massive difference, sending me about $50 versus approximately $700 we each owe monthly. As calmly as I could, I explained to them the confusion. They flipped out. Oh, they're good at that. They had a meltdown about money, and agreed to pay the landlord ASAP. So they did have the money then. For 2 months prior to this, they had been sending rent to the landlord without issue. But for the following 3, they just completely ignored that rent existed even with my reminders. That night, they did pay the landlord what they owed, including the following month's rent early, which I do entirely appreciate. No need to appreciate someone for doing the bare minimum and meeting their obligations. Minimum. But I still don't understand how this happened in the first place. We have been in a standoff with this roommate for a few days. My partner talked to them after they were off work the other night, suggesting they may need to seek therapy for their BPD outbursts, which went well. Until the rental situation was brought up, they exploded and cussed my partner out, claiming we broke their boundary of not speaking about finances, stormed out of the house for an hour. We talked to Joe about this issue, and they were just as perplexed. The following day, Joe and April talked privately. Joe ended up asking me and my partner to apologize to April. Joe. Buddy. No. When we asked for what, Joe got frustrated, so all 4 of us did mitigating again. Conclusion of that was that we had to apologize for, oh hell no, asking about money, even though almost getting evicted is kind of a big bloody deal to me, so money is impossible to not talk about. And April had to apologize for for cussing my partner out. We asked for their plan, and they said they are on a month-to-month basis on if they can live with us. They had, for the past few weeks, had meltdowns about moving out because they don't have any money. That fixes the problem. Get better roommates. And then randomly turned it around that they had plenty of money and could make it work. Clearly, because they're not paying their bills. They had been involving a mutual friend of ours who is looking for housing every time they have an outburst, promising them that they could have their place here in our home without consulting anyone. I had to break the news to this friend to stop trusting what April says because it's leading them on. As much as I'd like this friend to move in, I see a problem and a solution. You've just got to take it. I don't know what April's plans are anymore. And they're still legally obligated to pay rent regardless for the full year on the lease. I'm just so baffled and confused about the whole situation because it's become a situation where no matter what happens, I'm the bad guy for having to take care of our living situation responsibilities. I have to manage our money and everything. I was the one house hunting for us. I set up the appointment, I set up the lease and communicated with the landlord. I helped them move out, helped them get a job, driven them to work and class, etc. I feel like I am working my butt off for people I care about, only to be taken advantage of and lied to. Feels good, doesn't it? I don't know what to trust. How do you just not pay rent for 3 months? and think I will just stop not trusting you because you paid it when you got caught? Literally any insight or thoughts as to what could be going on would be awesome, because me and my partner are baffled at the immaturity of our roommates and how they don't understand the gravity of the situation. Yeah, you don't need to understand what's going on with your roommates. You just need to get the problem roommate out. Joe can shut the hell up telling you to apologize to someone. You should not have had to apologize to someone who's done you wrong. The solution here, the only viable solution, is to get her out and get someone who can pay their bills in. Someone who's going to have a little bit more respect for you. April is old enough now that she's not living with mommy and daddy anymore. She can meet her own responsibilities, she can pay her bills on time, and if she can't figure that out on her own, let her suffer the consequences of it. She's not your responsibility, and I think you're starting to see that now. Let her sink or swim. Probably sink. If she's lucky, she'll figure it out. Alright, story number 3, roommate accusations by Sprinkles Dew 8836. I'm going to be very vague here on purpose, but my roommate and I are both undergrads and girls. Also, please don't comment suggestions on moving out because it... Fine. Bye. I'm coming back. I'm coming back. We'll think of another solution. Because it's really not that simple for me right now, and I just want to clear my name. A pretty consistent problem between us has been her claiming that something of mine has gone bad, and before I can react, I find it thrown away. My only response to this has been, hey, maybe the groceries I bought last week did go bad, but could you maybe take a pic before throwing it out in future, or maybe the food I made yesterday did go bad in a day. But would you mind taking a pic and waiting till I get home? Since I have severe allergies, and I would like to avoid cross-contamination if possible. I'm from an ethnic background, and I'm used to people not being used to certain smells or foods, so I'm trying to be nice, but it's getting really, really hard. But so far, the only proof I've got is food that I should keep an eye on. Anyways, the point is, it's not been fun living with her and my other roommates because I feel like I'm walking on eggshells around them all the time. However, recently, she's been accusing me of sexually pleasing myself while she's in the room with me. I think that is a case of the wish being father of the thought, but let's continue. And according to her, I've done this multiple times. This scared me because that's a crime. She's accusing me of a crime. But I'm also on testosterone blockers for PCOS and antidepressants, so sex is literally painful for me and definitely not something I'm looking to do in my free time. At first, I was really scared that maybe I've started doing it in my sleep. I've never even gotten sleep-talking accusations before in my life, so that's a huge leap. But then she described that I'm moaning and she's heard a vibrator in the night. So, I'm almost 100% sure she's lying because 1, I don't even have a massage gun, let alone a vibrator. 2, every time I've had or attempted to have sex, I've been told that I'm so quiet it feels like I'm asleep. Oh, honey. Oh, dear. Also, this girl freaks me out to the point that I don't even shower when she's in the house. I'm not going to start thinking about pleasing myself. Also, she's studying to be a lawyer? Oh, ding, ding, ding. I fear this is the prime example of recording some form of evidence, especially if it's happened a bunch before. Well, the problem is she's studying to become a lawyer. She thinks she already is one, so she's starting to see crimes everywhere. Anyways, I'm really confused about what I can do in this situation. The only thing that's coming to mind is that I prove that I'm so freaked out by her that I try my level best to make sure we don't interact. Could maybe prove this because everything in our building is fob passes and CCTV. I avoid her to the point that I'll stay awake all night in the library and only come back to sleep when she's gone. This past week I've been sick, so that's not been possible. But according to her, she has been dealing with it for months, so that's something. Also, I don't know, because I deleted TikTok. But my friends were talking about some similar situation trending on TikTok right now. I have not told anyone about this because I'm so scared, so this was brought up naturally in convo. So if someone could please confirm that, I'd really appreciate it. Okay, let's deal with the first issue, the food issue. Just tell her to stop touching your food, full stop. Don't make excuses for it. Don't say, oh, well, maybe this, that, you saw. No, it didn't go off. And bring up the R word. Accuse her of racism if she insists that your food has gone off, because I think it's a little bit of racism here with that. It often is. You mentioned the smells of your food, i.e. it's probably got seasoning and spices in it. She's likely not used to that. So just tell her to stop touching your food. I'm assuming it's not mixing with hers. You've got it on your own shelf. She has no business touching that. If she is touching it, that could be a form of theft. She's taking something that belongs to you. I'm sure the future counselor there could tell you that, or one of her professors could. But let's not go that far. Let's not go that far yet. Just tell her to keep her hands off your food. And if she doesn't, you can start making sure hers is safe to eat as well. And then toss anything you don't like the look of that. As for the other thing, yeah, she is accusing you of something of a crime, but she's got no proof. And funny, she never has any proof, does she? Can't take pictures of the food to prove that it's off, because it's not. There's no evidence of it. She can't supply evidence when there's no evidence to supply. As for the tragic sounds of you rubbing one out in the middle of the night that seems to have traumatized her, that's not happening either. She can't provide proof. So your crazy roommate, and yeah, she is crazy, can say whatever she likes. You're doing nothing wrong, so you have nothing to worry about in the legal sense of the word. And every time she brings it up, demand proof. She'll never provide it, and eventually anybody you have in common will get the message that she's just being a massive, massive dickhole. Alright, that brings us to story number 4. Roommate and her kids keep stealing from and lying to me, by Good Foundation 733. Hi everyone. I could really use some advice. For background, I've been in a very toxic living environment with a roommate and her kids who I used to nanny full time. I'm in the process of moving out, after getting kicked out actually, but I'm still stuck with my things there for a little while as I get my water and electricity set up at my new place for my cat, boyfriend, and I. For some context, recently my roommate was found to be at someone's house without them knowing for hours. She told me she was going to a job interview and had the kids taken care of. She left the house and went and hung out in someone else's house for hours. Finding this out made me extremely uncomfortable, and alongside this happening I had found one of her kids in my room looking through my things on several occasions. So when I started moving out, I put a camera in my bedroom to keep a track of my cat and things better, as this environment no longer felt safe in any way. This morning I texted my roommate asking if she could please feed my cat before she left for work. She replied saying that she already had and that she had already left the house. But when I checked my camera because I noticed I had notifications, the only thing it caught was her son going through and stealing something off my dresser, and her turning my light off. My cat's bowls were empty both times. So basically she told me she fed him, and as far as I can see she didn't. And the only other food available in the house is locked in her room because my cat eats prescription food, hers doesn't. This isn't the first shady or dishonest thing to happen, it's just the most recent one. I feel really conflicted. Part of me wants to call her out directly with what I saw. Another part of me is scared she'll get angry, play the victim, or spread around to family and friends that I'm creepy for having a camera in my own room. The only reason I even hesitate is because I know her pattern. Why do you care about what she thinks? If confronted, she'll twist it around and try to make me the problem. That's what narcissists do. We're familiar with the playbook, and I'll probably end up feeling bad. I'm exhausted, and at this point the only fear I have about revealing the camera is losing the ability to keep catching them doing things, and just stack up the evidence until you move out, and then pull the trigger, so to speak. But at the same time, can I really even use footage of just some children stealing small things from me? Yeah, the camera's in your room, they've got no business being in there. They're small enough to fit in their pocket, probably not of much value, but they're your things. And they're kids who need to be taught a lesson before they become big kids, who rob banks and go to jail. The last time I caught it, I asked her not to let them in my room unattended. She replied with, "He's not interested in going in your room, so I'm not sure where that came from. But I'll tell him." So I had to straight up tell her I watched it happen. I'm really just tired at this point. Yet I feel I've been conditioned to be fearful, and now I just feel stuck. So my questions are, should I even confront her about this, or just let it go until I move out? If I do bring up the camera, how should I word it so she can't just flip it back on me? How do I protect my cat and peace of mind until I'm out of this house? I have a message already ready to send to her, mentioning my camera and what I saw. Yet I still haven't gotten myself to hit send. Just wait until you move out. There's no point stirring up the drama right now. You'll be out soon enough. Then have a field day, because you don't have to deal with her at that point. And her thieving, horrible children. Ugh. Story number 5. I have this roommate, Alex, who I've been living with for about 5 months. We're on a 12-month lease, so I can't escape her without paying fees I can't afford. Alex dated my other roommate before we all moved in together, but as far as I knew, things ended civilly. God, I don't even know where to start. For context, Alex hasn't been single for more than 6 weeks at a time since she was a preteen. Popular gal. When we first moved in, she already had a new boyfriend. He was weirdly afraid of me. I was nice, offering him rides to work and appointments, giving life advice, having real conversations. But apparently he was saying awful things about me behind my back because you intimidate him. You've apparently got your stuff together. Eventually he cussed me out, got banned from the apartment, and they broke up. A few days later, we found out that he was afraid of me because of the lies Alex told him. She made him believe that me and our other roommate were controlling, addicted, hateful people. Addicted to what, though? We didn't even like him because of his manipulative tendencies, but now I don't even know what was true anymore. After that, I told Alex straight up, take time for yourself, be single, go to therapy, figure out who you are. I also told her she had broken my trust by lying about me, and that if it ever happened again, our friendship would be done. 3 weeks later, she had a new boyfriend. I actually liked this one at first. Number 2, he was kind, funny, seemed good for her, but guess what? There's a common denominator in all of her relationships, and it's not the exes. That's too truthful. The first time we all hung out, we went to karaoke. I sang one song with boyfriend number 2, and she made him go outside mid-evening, claiming his dog was in danger. I was worried sick, only to find out months later that there was no dog emergency. She made it up because she thought I wanted to sleep with her boyfriend. You must have an amazing singing voice. Over a karaoke song. For context, I have a girlfriend and am happily monogamous. Fast forward, they break up. Because she admitted to lying constantly for attention. Full fabricated stories. Old days it didn't happen. 1 week later, I overhear her on the phone with a new potential partner saying, "I broke up with him because he tried to force me to be in love with him." Then she starts lying about random stuff, claiming she was a virgin until she was 20. Girl, come on now. And that she's been sober all year. She hasn't. And there's only one gay bar in our city. There are like 10. And that she thrifted or stole all her clothes. Admitting to crimes to a potential lover. Bold. Even though I've literally given her a laundry basket full since we moved in. Maybe she considers that theft. After that, she started having loud sex multiple times a week. I was already resentful, but this next part killed any respect I had left. We planned a night out, just the 3 roommates to try and clear the air. She invited a first date and her ex, number 2. Then she told us we weren't allowed to interact with her or her date because it was a first date. Annoying, but whatever. Then number 2 shows up. He tells me he's glad we have water under the bridge. I'm like, what bridge? He says Alex told him I hated him and that he was afraid of me because of things she said. All these fearful guys. Hello? The rest of the night, me, number 2, and my other roommate start swapping stories, and we realize she's been lying to us all for months. Fake dog story? Check. Bad-mouthing me? Check. Contradictory timelines and fake backstories? Check. Maybe she can just travel the multiverse. Okay, that's less plausible, I admit. And she's still trying to talk to me, still trying to explain. I've been ignoring her. She's knocked on my door the other day, and I just shut it in her face. Not proud of that. Oh, I'm proud of you. I'm very proud of you for doing that. I don't want excuses. I don't want new lies. I just want her gone. 11 more months of this. Send help. All I can say is I wish you the best of luck. I mean, you've wised up to her nonsense. It sounds like other people are wising up to her nonsense. And eventually she'll have to find a whole new group of people to bamboozle. And then they'll get bored with her too. She'll never change. She'll go through life like this, and she'll end up alone. And that brings us to the end of today's video. Big thanks to everyone who allowed me to use their stories. If you'd like to support the channel, you can do so by signing up for my Patreon page. There's a link to that in the description. $1 or more a month, whatever you're comfortable supporting, gets you early access to the videos on Monday. You'll also find a link in the description to my merchandise store on Teespring. Almost forgot for a second. It's on Teespring. As well as links to my Discord server, threads, that's there as well, and my email if you need to contact me to send a story, ask for a shout out, or any business inquiries. So until next time, thank you very much for watching, and take very good care of yourselves. Bye bye.